It was once said that one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Plato. Let's get into tonight's show. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of LP Happenings. This is where I look across the vastness of tyranny here in the United States, and I bring to you some of the happenings, some of the things that are going on in the Libertarian Party across the United States. Because as the third largest political party in the United States, well, you would expect things to be happening, right? Well, that's the case. And that's what I do. Every weekend, I go and I dig up all the stuff that I can find, but I do it in a very specific manner. I go for anybody that may be tuning in who has not seen the show before. What I do is I go to lp.org and I click on their affiliate link, and it shows me a nice little map of the United States. Then I click on every single one of the states and territories, DC included, and then I check and I see what is going on. And so I break it up into three things. Number one, I see who has an empty calendar for the month, and I present that. And then I also see, okay, who is showing that there is a business meeting or a social on their calendar for this upcoming week. And then I go ahead and mark that on a map. And then I'll present that map here in just a moment. And then finally, I look and I say, okay, what events are happening in the next 2 weeks? That way you can kind of get excited about some of the events that are happening. And what I mean by I separate those events from other events, such as like a social or a business, because the expectation is that there are a lot of socials and business meetings because the state affiliates, not the state itself doesn't necessarily have a whole bunch of those meetings, although they might, but they also sometimes include many of the local affiliates. And so the goal of this show is to kind of help whatever way I can to nudge affiliates to start putting all their information all on their state affiliate websites. Now, you might ask yourself, like, DL, because I presented this information elsewhere, I posted it and had a lot of interesting conversations. Number one, it seemed like the maps that I was using, the way that I was putting them together was a little bit confusing. So I've actually changed the way that I have done that. The other thing is, once somebody pointed out and they said, well, some people are moving away from their state affiliates. We've got infighting, and maybe maybe they just don't see that a website is the best way to communicate this information. And in my opinion, well, that's too bad. I mean, if I just as a regular person, let's say for instance that I'm traveling to another state and maybe I'm traveling in a couple of weeks and I want to see what kind of events are going on that maybe I can participate in. And I don't really know too many people, right? That I can reach out to. And so I go to the Libertarian Party website and then I find, let's say I'm going to, let's pick a state. Let's say I'm going to Nevada. And so then I go to their site, I go to the Libertarian Party's website, and then I go to Nevada, and it takes me to the Nevada Libertarian Party's page. And then I look on their events page, and I can see what kind of events might be occurring if I'm traveling in that particular area. So if I don't see anything, then it leads me to believe that nothing is going on. And while it may seem like, hey, we use Facebook or we use, Meetup or whatever, those are all good. But at the end of the day, I think we need to have a little bit of consistency that people can rely on, because that consistency helps people find this information. So that's what I do, and that's what I'll be reporting on tonight. Now, I will admit tonight is a wee bit of a shorter show, and the reason for that is probably just because it's Christmas. Like, there's just not a whole lot going on. We're getting close. I mean, I'm leaving town next week to go visit some family members. I'm sure other people are. So there's just not a lot of events to present, but we will present what there is, and then just um, let you have the rest of your time back. It's just going to be a little bit of a shorter show. No big deal. All right. So let me see what I've got here first. So the first thing I like to do is I like to point out, and like I said, prior to tonight's episode, I was actually using two maps. On one map, I would have just states in red that had nothing on their calendar. And then on the other map, it would be states in green. And those were states where when I go to the state Libertarian Party website, they had on their calendar either a business meeting or a social that was for either the state party or their local party. Now, I don't do too much digging. There are a few state affiliates where, like, there's not a lot of information. Like, you have to maybe go dig and click a couple links, and then you might find it. Like some of the smaller states, they kind of will link to some of their affiliates, and then the affiliates will have their. I didn't go through that. I didn't go that deep, because what I want to see, like, every state has effectively, oh, most every state has an events page. I think one or two do not. DC does not actually have a formal website. The link from the Libertarian Party page for DC actually links to their Facebook page, which, by the way, has not been updated since like 2021. So I don't know if there's anybody out there in DC that's part of the Libertarian affiliate, but if there is, I don't know. Maybe step up your game, like, at all. Anyway, so let's see what we got here first. Let's pull this first map up. Well, not first map. I'm so used to having two maps now that there's actually only just one. So this is now a combined empty calendar meetings this week. So as you can see in the red, these are the states that have an empty calendar for December. And I do my best to make sure this is accurate. But if there's something, like, if it's not accurate, if I've missed something, by all means, let me know. Maybe I am going through 50 different affiliate pages. So it's possible that I have made a mistake, but I do my diligence to go to each one and double check and make sure. I also noticed on some calendars. So if anybody wants to, like, if anybody's like fact checking me and they're like, hey, my state, why are we in red? And they go and they look, and you might say, hey, well, there was an event early on. I do try to account for those, but it does look like on some of the sites, if you're going and you're double checking, that when you, like, say, search for a range, because some of them have it set up where you can either see the whole calendar or whether you can, select a starting date and an end date. And it seemed like some of those, they had an event early on in December, but then it seems to have cleared. So there may be some disconnect there. I'm not really entirely certain, but I'm doing the best I can, folks, to bring you the most accurate information. So in red, these are the states, and most of these states have, and this is for December only. So we're not doing any other month. Most of these states that are in red were probably in red like last month as well. I think North Dakota, South Dakota, I think they were as well. Some of them are relatively new. So like Ohio, they were not on the list back in November. And was I doing this in October? I don't know if I was quite doing. I don't think I was reporting on the empty events. I wasn't reporting the green and the red, until sometime last month. That was a relatively new thing. Prior to that, I was only reporting on what you might think of as like special events. So if I went to a calendar and I saw that somebody had an event where like maybe a presidential candidate was coming into town for something, then we would specifically talk about that event in particular. And then I decided, hey, you know, I found some opportunities where I could easily share this kind of information. And then the green represents a calendar for that state affiliate that has a business meeting or a social on the calendar, whether it's state level or local level. And then everybody in gray, that just means they weren't empty, but they didn't have a business meeting or a social this week starting tomorrow. So going from tomorrow to the next Sunday, which would be what, 18 to 24. So that's all that means. And some, you know, there were some state, like if you were to look back at not last week, but the week prior when I did this episode, some of the states that are in gray now were actually in green then. So the gray doesn't really mean anything per se, because all it reports is whether or not there was a business or a social on the calendar for this particular week. And it's possible, like I have noticed that some of the affiliates, they tend to have them maybe at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. I think usually the beginning is pretty popular. So it's very possible that there are a lot of events on at the beginning of the month, and then maybe not nearly as many in the middle of the month, and maybe a couple at the end or something like that. So again, the gray doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't mean anything negative, doesn't mean anything bad, good, whatever, what have you. Um, Ideally, in the best case scenario, we would have all green like every week, right? Because, or at least maybe for most states. I know in Florida we have like 20 some affiliates. And so if you think about it, 20 some affiliates, if they're having a monthly meeting, a monthly business meeting or a monthly social, or they split them up and they have two, right? Then out of 20 affiliates, it's, you know, the numbers would kind of suggest that Florida would be on the calendar every single week. That's not the case because not all affiliates are necessarily reporting that information to the state party. So again, this is only what's being reported, what I can find when I go to the state affiliates website. So there may be all kind of events happening in, like, say, Texas and Georgia and California, Nevada. There may be events that are happening and they just didn't make it to the calendar. And so that's, you know, hopefully something that people will push when they see and they say, hey, wait a minute, I want my event to be shown. Hopefully that's something that this show can help motivate people, because again, my view is that there should be, you might think of it as a single source of truth, probably not quite the language that libertarians want to hear, but the idea behind it is that when somebody who's not a libertarian, who doesn't know what their local party or their state, you know, party for the libertarians, they don't know whether they should necessarily go to Meetup or Facebook or find you know, the events page on their you know, on their website. They don't know where the best avenue for this information should be. So therefore, I say that it should all be on, all be able, you should always be able to find it from a state affiliate's website. And that will be the best way to communicate. The other reason, and I'm not going to show it, I kind of debated whether I wanted to show this or not. But if you go to the National Republicans website or the GOP, or you go to the National Democratic Party website, you can look for and search for local events by your zip code. So, like the big two, they have this information available on their websites. Now, as I've told people before, the Libertarian Party, we should, and here's what I actually said to somebody, because they said, hey, look, many events are organized on Facebook or other social media, but don't make it to state affiliate websites. Some view websites as anachronistic and are not updated very well. And this is what I said. I said, on principles and policy positions, the Libertarian Party and its affiliates should stand out, but we should follow standard practices regarding forms of communication. Both the Republican and Democratic websites have a map where people can find events near them. We cannot compete if people have to dig to find how to participate. We should use every medium available and then, to use a dirty word among libertarians, centralize that information. So the information should be centralized just not authority and power. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, and that's why I present this. And hopefully, it's a like a little nudging, a little shaming, if you will, but in a positive way. Right? We're not trying to just scream and stomp our feet and be angry at people and say, "Ah, you're not doing it right." We want to say, like, "Look, I want to show you in green, so make it happen." Make the next time I look at your state affiliate site, show that it's not red, that there are some events on the one event. Like I'm gonna put them out there. California, I believe, has one event on their calendar for for December, and it was like December 2nd, and that was their Tar and Feather Gala, right? But it was one event, and so that means that their December calendar was not empty, and because it was not empty, I will not put it in red even if it's just one event. That's all we're looking for. We're looking just to move and be a little bit better next week than we were last week. And then just eventually keep on getting better and better and better. So that's what we have. Again, gray doesn't mean anything. Red calendars where there is nothing on the calendar for this month for December. And then in green, it is just a social or a business. I don't report anything specific to those events because those are just standard kind of generic meetings that affiliates have. Affiliates have business meetings where they sit down and they discuss, how they want to spend, all the money that they're pulling in because we know that your affiliates are doing a great job of raising money so that you can compete in politics. So those are what the business meetings for. Socials are just kind of get-togethers. A lot of times there may not be a speaker, there may not be anything in particular. So I don't want to report on each one of those individually because there wouldn't be much to say. I would just be like, okay, over here in this county, they're having a social, and over here, and it would be kind of dry and boring. But what I do is I will look at special events. And for special events, I do actually present those. And so I actually have only one to present. And let's get that one up on the screen. And again, we're toward the end of December. It is December 17th. I know people may already be traveling, right? And then people will be traveling. So no shade if there's not a whole lot to report between now and the end of the year. So let's pull up on the screen and let's see who is this. This is Colorado. Colorado actually has a very specific event coming up. And here we are. I wish I could make that bigger on the screen. More bigger is totally proper English. But anyway, Holiday Party 2023. This is on December 29th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Oh, and I wanted to point out, let me back up a wee bit and point out normally, typically, Susan Hogarth is here with me as a co-host. She's not here tonight because she had an unexpected, just family thing, whatever, no big deal, nothing dramatic, nothing scary, nobody's in the hospital or anything. Just like, hey, you know, got something unexpected come up. I'm not gonna be able to make it tonight. Cool. See you next time. So normally she would be here, but she is not tonight. So I'm just going solo, but it's okay because it's going to be a relatively short show tonight. Anyway, back to this holiday party. So we got the holiday party 2023. This is at the Deep Space Parker over in, let's see, it looks like Parker, Colorado. And this is listed as a fundraiser. So it's from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. this December 29th. So that is a Friday. And when I do these events, so what I do is I look and I see who has an empty calendar for the month. And then those go in red. And then I say, who has a business meeting or a social in the next week, just first, following week. And then I go that in green. And then I report on individual events that are between the following Monday, so tomorrow, and 2 weeks out. And the goal here for 2 weeks out is if I do it every week, then that gives people that are watching plenty of time to register and kind of clear their calendar and make sure that they have an opportunity to go, presuming, of course, that they happen to see the show. So this one is actually 2 weeks out. So it's not this Friday. It is actually next Friday, the 29th. And again, it's in Parker, Colorado. Come one, come all to the annual Libertarian Party of Colorado holiday party. Join us for an evening of camaraderie, fun, food. I was going to make a joke about camaraderie, but let's not. It's Christmas. Camaraderie, fun, food, mystery auction boxes. So that'll be cool. I'm not sure what that entails, but it sounds kind of neat. And then live music. There will be a cash bar on site. And this is again at Deep Space Parker in Parker, Colorado from 6 to 10 p.m. So that is the only event that I happen to have that I found that was not a regular like business meeting or social. So I didn't see any other events. Now, if I missed one, if there's one on your state affiliate website and I missed it, call me out. Like it's okay. What we're trying to do here is improve and get better. So I want my state affiliates to get better, and I hope they want me to get better. So so if I miss something, don't be shy. I mean, don't be rude, but don't be shy. Just be like, hey, DL, what's up? You missed one right here. Look, and you can send me a screenshot or however you want to do it. So that's what I have for today. I do want to point out, just kind of make a little bit of an announcement here. So because it's the holidays, because I'm looking at the calendars out and there's not a whole lot, like there was literally one thing between now and the end of the year. I'm actually not going to stream next Sunday night on the 24th for that reason. And because I'll be flying. So I won't even be available anyway. So there won't be a show next Sunday night, the 24th. Make sure that you are spending time with your friends and your family next weekend. Hopefully I don't have to tell people that. But otherwise, there's not much more to the show today. I will point out, let's see, I got a comment here. So we'll throw a comment up on the screen from Forest Mommy. And I want to thank everybody who is tuning in live for tuning in. Let me know how I'm doing. If I can improve the show, make it better, make it more exciting, what have you, let me know. Forest Mommy says I go to 3 county affiliate meetings a month. We have some semi-affiliates too, and a few other meetups. So that is now the standard. You need to go to 3 affiliate meetups per month, or you're just not as good as Forest Mommy. Like that's just how it is. Sorry, folks. I don't make the rules. Those are the rules. The universe has spoken. Those are the rules. At any rate, thank you, folks, for tuning in. Like I said, it's a shorter show tonight, only about 22 minutes or so, 25 minutes. Normally, the show takes a little bit longer because I do report on, like if you go to last week's show, I think, or not last week's, but the week before, I had an absence last week. But if you go to my prior LP happening show, there were like 10 different events that I was reporting on, like 10 different ones. They were like bowling and a whole bunch of other stuff, like park cleanups and stuff like that. So I report on any of these, like what you might call a special event, that is an event that is not a social or a business, or if you happen to have a special speaker at your social, something kind of out of the ordinary, then I will report on that. So I do this by just literally going and browsing all the state affiliate websites. Do that every Sunday because I want to make sure that you have the absolute best information on what's happening in the Libertarian Party. And the other reason is partly because of frustration on my own part, because I was all for like a couple of years now, I had been saying, like, what are other affiliates doing? What can we do? Right. Like we didn't have any ideas. Right. And I would ask people online, and it's too hostile of an environment. And, because too many people like take it as like, instead of like, hey, what are you doing? It's more like, hey, what are you doing? And so then they get all hostile and they don't want to answer. And it's like, okay, that's not really helping. What I want to do is I want to motivate you. I want to get you excited that things are happening in the party. I also want to give you ideas because you can't think of everything. And there have been several ideas that I plan to implement here in our own affiliate as the local chair that I think are cool ideas. So there are plenty of ideas out there to be had, and this is how we kind of share that knowledge and help each other out. So anyway, let me wrap this up. I want to thank you for watching. Again, I hope you found this episode informative and inspiring. Want to catch me every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern, for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Then again, on Sunday nights, we're going to skip next Sunday night. So next Sunday night will be in the brand new year. Let's see what's the date for that. The looks like the 7th. So the next time that I will be running LP happenings will be January 7th. And we will be right back at it, talking about what's going on. I will look across again the vastness of tyranny in this country, and I will bring to you the news of what is happening in local and state affiliates across the United States. Make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel. You can go to youtube.libertydad.com. You can go to rumble.libertydad.com. Make sure that you subscribe to those channels and throw me a comment and a like. Let me know how I'm doing. Lastly, I want you to remember that if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. I want you to have a great week. For now, I'm out.